What's up, everybody? Ooh, it's Thirsty Thursday. Little outdoor edition, shall we? Yeah, you like that? Me too. All right, everybody. You got your cans? You know what to do. First, we skim the top. Then, we get the gutter. Then, we blow. Yeah. Now we click this bad boy. Ooh, did you hear that? Did you feel that? And now what do? We pour. We pour until the bubbles appear. We pour until, and then when the bubbles appear, what do? We dream. Oh, man, that's a good dream. I'm dreaming that there's a elixir beverage, possibly with a gorilla logo on it around. Let's try again. Maybe we need more dreams to make it happen. Okay, it's bubbling. No, no, don't take a sip yet. Now we bubble. We bubble. Yeah, you know what they say about dreams. They come true. Let's pull out this elixir, baby. Karen, Joe, this is all for you. Mm-hmm. Shake well. Pop the top. There's nothing better than a Viking berry monster with a little shot of gorilla. Ah, enjoy, fam. Let's put this lid on. Ah, welcome to Thirsty Thursday, outdoor edition. Grab your beverage. I can't talk. Grab your beverages, stay positive, and always remember 3, 2, 1. That's a knockout.
3, 2, 1, yeah, that's a knockout. They call me kamikaze, put you in heaven's lobby. All gas, no brakes, you can never stop me. Nah, no, you can never stop me. Yeah, cause I'm the power slap king. Slap some, baby!
Cheers, fam. How we doing? Another week in the books, another week in life, another week that we wish we had less strife. Bars, son. For those of you that have not tried the elixir beverage with a Viking berry monster, you're not living life right. I don't think you're living life right, to be honest. Man, there was a stabbing at Dre's University. Same dorm area. I think it was on a different level, but they evacuated the whole place. It was nuts, man. Made my gut drop a little bit. I'm so happy it wasn't a shooting. He texted Allie and I, so you knew something was up because he never texts back either of us. So if he texts both of us in a group message, probably pretty serious, or at least we should be paying attention, right? So anyway, told him that he could come down or whatever, hang out with us, do what he's got to do. But he ended up going to his woman's dorm because why wouldn't you? Hold me, I'm scared. Um, and then come to find out, it was just a prank. The U of U released a statement saying it was just basically a false alarm. So I don't know what kids or kid thought they could pull a prank like that, but they're going to get a talking to. I know that. And no pun intended, but it'll probably twist the knife in their life. All right. Oh, man. What a week, fam. What a week. What a week. It's funny. Everything's going how it's supposed to go. And then life throws you these curveballs, right? And you just have to deal with them in your own way. And it's hard. It's hard. Everyone's just doing their best. I was listening to Two Bears, One Cave because that's my favorite podcast. And they had Mel Robbins on. And if you haven't heard of Mel Robbins, I didn't know she was as popular as she is. Allie had read her book, Let Them. And so I knew anyone who authors a book and it shows up in our house and Allie's reading it or listening to it, they got to be pretty popular, right? But I didn't know how popular. So I'm listening to this podcast with Bert Kreischer because Tom's gone doing his Netflix show thing. And he has Mel Robbins on the show. And they're sitting there talking, and she starts to say, I think it was like in 1 year or less, A year or less, she sold 8 million copies of her book. I mean, damn. Um, 50 million people are listening to her podcast. I mean, damn. So anyway, way more popular than I had known until she was on this podcast. And she was talking with Bert about how remember who you married because they're just doing the best that they can. And if you put yourself in their shoes, would you act any different? Would you approach things differently? Um, and she's telling this to Bert, and Bert cries. He starts to get emotional, and he's like yelling, "Cut this out! Edit this out!" And this Mel Robbins chick was like, "Don't you dare edit this out!" Because they want to see the emotion. You know what I mean? But he told this cool story, sentimental story, after Mel Robbins had told him, "Remember who you married," and it's this story of he was out of town on the road, I'm sure, or filming one of his shows back in the day. But anyway, the kids were young. His wife Leanne was home alone, and the dog had some issues. So the kids are freaking out. She picks the dog, gets them all in the car, and they go to the closest vet that they could find. And the vet was kind of a hack, I guess. Put some wires in the dog's knees. It wasn't done with love, shall we say, fam. And the dog was in all this pain. And then eventually they take the dog to a different vet, one that was, filtered. I don't know if that's the right word, one that was recommended. Fucking filtered. Oh man, I'm on social media too much. Anyway, and they take the dog to the better vet, if you will, the better doctor. And the dog was obviously in less pain and everything. But Bert was pointing out that he was so mad at her. He was so mad at Leanne for doing the dog wrong, taking it to the wrong spot, and he was just like beside himself. And he lets her know that. He lays into her. How could you? On and on. But then when he gets told by this Mel Robbins lady, remember who you married, he starts to get teary-eyed and cry and relay this story. And then he says, and after I had blown up at her and got mad, he said, well, who am I? Who am I? Because if Leanne was on the road doing work and I was home with a couple little kids and the dog was hurt, and everybody was emotional and beside themselves, I would have gone to the closest veterinarian just like she did. Because you're not thinking, except we need to fix this or make this better. And him admitting that made him emotional. And it made him think because, yeah, remember who you married. She wasn't trying to do anybody dirty. She wasn't trying to do anybody wrong. She was in the moment. She was emotional, passionate. The kids are probably crying. So she did what she could. And he was saying, if I was in that situation, I would have done anything any different. Of course, I would have taken the dog to the closest veterinarian. Of course, I would have done it as fast as possible. And it was such a cool thing to hear because one of the reasons I love comics so much is they're the most, in my opinion, they're the most honest people in the world. They they care, but they don't give a shit. The good ones. The good ones care, but they don't give a shit. And they're the most honest people on the planet. Everything in their acts are all about their life and who they are, no matter how dark or funny or relatable or non-relatable or crazy or familiar. Whatever's going on in their life, they tell the truth. And because they do that, it comes across as genuine. And because it comes across as genuine and it's truthful, and it's funny. It is funny. And the good ones know that and they stick to it. And so to hear an honest moment between a comic and a therapist, it was pretty cool. It makes you reflect on your own relationship in your own life. And look, we're all just doing our best. But you got to have boundaries. And if those boundaries are laid out and they keep getting crossed over and over, man, it's rough. We all make sacrifices. We all do our thing. We all have bad moments. One of those bad moments was Lucas this past week. Him and Allie, they can feed off each other a little bit, and I can feed off of him too as well. And then Allie and I can feed off of each other. I've said more than 7 times in the Scott household, everybody needs to just work on their triggers. Like, We're not going to be around that much longer, you know? And that doesn't mean people are perfect. That doesn't mean that people are going to change immediately. But man, if you lay those boundaries down and they keep getting crossed, I don't know if it's a person who laid the boundaries down problem or the person crossing those boundaries problem. But nonetheless, it's still just a problem. You feel me, fam? So anyway, her and Lucas got in this big fight and it was going up and up and up, escalating, escalating. And sometimes Lucas will push the envelope, and then sometimes he'll really push the envelope, and he won't stop. He won't stop. He won't stop. And Lucas is so smart, man. I forget he's 11 or 12, however old he is. I think he's like in high school. He's a bigger kid. He's tall. In so many ways, he acts so mature. But then at the end of the day, you got to remember he's just a kid. Literally, he's a child. And I think he learned an adult lesson this week. You know, if you keep poking the bear, literally and metaphorically, saying certain things that are grotesque and you don't stop, eventually, when you keep doing that, you're going to have a consequence. And that consequence happened. And in the middle of that consequence, Allie railed into me. Oh my gosh, told me all the things that I said were boundaries. She crossed them all. We're in a weird situation. Well, it's not a weird situation. There's millions of guys, I'm sure, in my situation. There might be millions of couples in our particular situation. But the reality is, and I've said this before on the podcast, somebody's got to give, man. But that doesn't mean the person who's giving has to take it. And I think that goes both ways. You know what I mean? This Mel Robbins chick, she's always talking about let them, let them. You know, it's like stoicism. Oh, if someone's going to treat you bad, let them treat you bad. If somebody cuts you off on the freeway, let them. That's their issue. Meaning, you can't let everything around you control you. However, shout out to my parents, shout out to my business owners, shout out to my role reversal peeps. It's not that easy. You know, if you're a guy with a career and you're succeeding in that career and there's someone else going, you know, behind you saying, hey, no, 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 I want the career. I want this. 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 Someone's got to give up because when you're dealing with two alpha people, somebody's got to have a softer heart. And not to toot my own horn, but that's somebody's me in this relationship. And I love it. I wouldn't change it. You know, Allie the other day was saying how I don't want to make it about me. We're having this conversation. She's like, I don't want to make it about me. I want to know about this. I want to know about that. And I smiled and I just told her, you know, Allie, that's kind of the beautiful thing. If you didn't make everything about you, then you wouldn't have that belief in yourself to succeed. And that's real. Anybody who's super good at what they do, deep down, they can go about it in different ways. But deep down, they're doing it for them because they want to show everybody, I got this. I got this. Watch me go do this. And I love that. I love that. It's such a rare commodity in a human being. So many people get intimidated. They get in their own head. They start telling themselves negative things. They can't do this. They shouldn't do that. And it's all bullshit. But with that comes moments where people cross lines and boundaries, say certain things, do certain things. And man, it hurts. It tugs at you big time. But you got to get over it. You can't change other people's actions or comments. But what you can do is let them, as Mel Robbins would say, just let them. But in a relationship, sometimes you can't just let them. Sometimes you got to be like, hey, all right, no more. And what's hard is when you tell them no more and they keep doing it when things get tough. You know, like when your kid runs a parent teacher conference and lays out his own rules, talking about how when he comes home from school, he likes to chill for a minute, you know, and then do homework. Oh, that's good elixir. But we'll set these alarms, and at 5 o'clock, I'll do my homework from 5 to 6. And when he actually does his homework, fam, it's like 15 minutes, right? Anyway, he laid out these rules, but he hasn't followed his own rules. So that's hard. If you're not going to do what you say you're going to do, it's hard. And then you stress yourself out, you amp things up, you blow things out of proportion. And at the end of the day, you still got to do the metaphorical or literal reading assignment or math assignment. Same in a relationship, man. If someone lays down the gauntlet saying, hey, I get it. We all have bad days, but we don't do this. We don't say this. You got to follow it. No matter how ridiculous it seems. Shit. The 7 people listening to this, you know what I'm talking about. In your relationship, that literally happens, you know? And what do you do? What do you do? Not sure. But I do know this. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to keep moving forward. And when you cross certain boundaries, certain lines, oh, I mean, you're allowed to. You're a human being. No one's got you under their thumb by any means. But man, there needs to be more care around those boundaries. I firmly believe that. You know, it's crazy, man. After my dad passed, I was on this mantra, how I hated anger, which is such a funny thing to say, right? Because hate is anger. Anger can be hate, you know. Man, I hate anger. I hate it. I hate making people feel stupid. I hate making people feel less than. I hate making people feel the way I feel about myself, but I put it on them. I hate all that. I've done all that and I'm sick of it. Done with it. Can't stand it. You want to know why? Because there are certain true things in all these motivational reels on Instagram and TikTok and on and on. You know, nobody really does think about you. Nobody cares about you in that way. If you've got a zit on your nose and you're in the 8th grade, it's death, right? Everyone's looking at me. I'm ugly, on and on and on. Dad comes home from work. The wind slams the door shut. Everyone at the dinner table is going, oh, dad's in a bad mood. Oh, man, better be on the best behavior. And everybody's quiet, right? Reality, no one's looking at that zit on your nose. No one cares. And the wind closed the door. So instead of assuming, maybe just be like, hey, are you all right? Oh, yeah, the wind just shut the door. I'm sorry about that. Easier said than done. But I love those examples because they're real and you can stretch those examples in different ways in any situation, relationship, whatever, and come back to the same truth, which is nobody's looking at you like that. You got to look out for you and yours. The only thing I would do to play devil's advocate with that is, but when you're in a relationship, hopefully people are looking after you. They do care what you think, and they are doing their best to make you feel comfortable and better and wanted. Because that's what it's about, right? Marriage isn't like, oh, you know, in the Mormon culture, there's a lot of people that get married real quick because those hormones are real and they like you get married young here, you know? And it sucks and it's sad because a lot of times, when people are being honest, more than not, I think a lot of relationships, particularly in a religious culture, they get married for the physical aspect. Oh, I'm attracted to her. Oh, she touched my hand. I feel sensations. We can't do these things we want to do until we're married. So we get married. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, you got a kid. Next thing you know, you got a mortgage of some kind. And in this culture, you might be 24. You know what I mean? But I say that because I hope my device is low on storage, fam. I'm talking too much. Ah, and the dog's barking. It's telling me I need to quit, fam. So I'll leave you with this. Oh, it's telling me to quit, fam. All I'm saying, keep getting this message. All I'm saying is when you're in a relationship and you're married, it's not just so you can be intimate with them. You're literally choosing to see this person and all their crap and all their darkness and all their skeletons in their closet, and you're still there for them. You're still there. You still show up. You still say, I love you. You still say, you're going to be okay. Because the easy stuff is easy. Happy's easy. But if you're in that gauntlet of a relationship, that's what it's about, man. And you chose them and they chose you. And that's far more important than any spitter, spatter, or whatever the hell. All right. This phone's really bugging me to shut up. I keep getting these. That's why I'm touching the screen over and over. Fam, Let's have a good Thirsty Thursday. All right. God bless. Who says God bless? Cheers, fam. All right. We got to get out of here or my phone's going to blow up. All right. It's just a quickie today. But remember, the person looking back at you in the mirror is going to be okay, even if they may think they're not. All right. Bye bye.